Let's see if we can get them all settled and ready to roll for podcast. Let's see how hot this tea is now. Probably still really hot. Still really hot. Okay. Take two. Hello and welcome to The Knitted Bean. My name is Echo and I will be your host today. The Knitted Bean is a nitty, notey, and sometimes sweary podcast with a side order of fandom or whatever other media I would like at the end. I'm coming to you from Montana, where I live with my husband and our two very distracting Boston Terriers, Legnut and Izzy, also affectionately known as Granny. If you are looking for me on the internet, you can find me as The Knitted Bean on Instagram and Ravelry. You can email me at knittedbean@gmail.com. I have a Ko-Fi as The Knitted Bean, and you are welcome to message me on Discord as capital B, EAN, hashtag 0199. Now they're both up. And my neighbor is out there, like, weeding or gardening or something. So we'll see how that goes. I may be spotted through the window. I kind of don't care. Oh my goodness, that was the whiniest noise, and I'm sure it got picked up on microphone logs. Are you proud of yourself? Today is Friday, May 6th. By the time I post this, it will be Tuesday, the 10th. And that is exciting because that means that the Inclusion Cal will be starting. So we'll get into that a little bit later in admin. But just to start us off, it's been really nice out. Like 68, 69. I don't think we've gone over 70 yet. And I'm not fully sure what that is in Celsius. Like, that's like getting out of my Celsius knowledge range. Maybe like 20? That seems a little high. Maybe like 21, 22. And we haven't had any snow even. So all of my tulips are blooming. I have black ones and red ones. I planted another kind, but they did not come up. I think they actually came up in the middle of winter and got froze. So we'll see if they come back next year or not, but they are looking good and that is nice to see. I also have an allium that I planted, and that's got to be close to a foot tall now, but nowhere near blooming. Oh my gosh, it's still hot. So I want to say hello and welcome. I see that I have a few new viewers, and thank you and welcome back for everybody who comes back to me for this shit show time and time again. It's only been 2 weeks this time. I have a lot of energy. I am not on steroids. I am not sick currently. Cross your fingers. I'm feeling pretty perky. I'm exhausted and I'm sleeping a lot, which goes along with my illness, but I don't feel sick. So it's been really nice, and I feel like I've been accomplishing a lot lately, even though those are not like big things that other people might consider accomplishments. To me, getting one load of laundry in is a huge accomplishment. I am drinking some mochi tea from Bird and Blend in the mug that I'm going to assume my husband chose for me today, because I found it and another mug that's his turned upside down by the coffee pot this morning, which I assume means here's the mug that you are using today. This mug is from Crafty Cat Mugs. I haven't mentioned them in a while. I still love them to death. They have the best snarky ass mugs ever. And they always come really exceptionally well packaged so that you're never getting a broken mug. I will drop a link for them below, along with all the links for anything else that I mention or bring up here. The mochi tea came in my acquisition package that we'll talk about later from Hannah at the Corner of Craft. The only time that I get Bird and Blend tea is pretty much when I get yarn from overseas. I should order myself like a Bird and Blend sampler box or Advent one of these days instead of ordering my tea from Lake Missoula Tea, but I just love Lake Missoula Tea way too much. Like, Bugs, excuse you. I get low on it and I'm like, no, I have to have my tea. It's a green tea. It is mint and lime and lemongrass. Actually, it's really good. I thought about making it into iced tea because I made some iced tea yesterday with some Waldemeister tea that I got from Germany, but I didn't want to make 2 iced teas in a day. Okay, other little bits of life. So, I know some of you have been a little worried about Granny. Hell, I've been a little worried about Granny. She was not eating very much. She had lost a lot of weight, and I kind of thought she was rapidly on her way out the door. But to be honest, she started eating again on a mostly regular schedule, like 2 meals a day, and eating the whole meal. She hasn't really gained any weight back. I mean, maybe a little bit, but she's definitely not in what I would consider a healthy weight. But she seems a lot perkier, and that seems to have helped a lot with like her blood sugar and her balance. I still think that she's old and it's probably not going to be real long, but she is motivated to eat and excited about it, which is a change from a couple of weeks ago. So we just are continuing to give her the best summer ever. A lot of that might have to do with it's warm out and she does much better when it's warm. So we've been putting some unflavored Greek yogurt on top of her food or some cheese shreds on top of her food, and she is all about that. But I mean, we were putting treats and stuff on top of her food before and she was still not interested. So I just think she's kind of on an upswing, which is really nice to see for her to enjoy one last summer. Lugs, on the other hand, is working on an exercise routine because Lugs is a chunky dog. Lugs has not always been a chunky dog. Lugs came to us from a puppy mill. She was a puppy mill mama, and she has some metabolism problems because of that. And I laugh, but it's not funny. It's really sad, actually. And when we got her, she was very underweight, and then she immediately ballooned at having access to food. So we had to like do scheduled meals, which we'd never done before because Izzy does really well with free feeding. Yes, we're talking about your food. And we put her on like a scheduled meal with diets under the vet supervision, and she was doing really, really well on that. She would go to the dog park and she would get exercise and she slimmed right down to a normal weight, not underweight, not overweight. Then the great sickness happened and the dog parks closed. And with her metabolism issues, she just can't not have like huge bursts of energy exercise. Even if you just take her for a walk, it's not enough. So no matter how much we played fetch with her in the house or took her for a walk, she still just kind of slowly gained weight over the last couple of years. And unfortunately, because she's only a 15-pound dog, putting on 2 pounds, 3 pounds, so it's like huge for her. And so we have gone back to the dog park, started a little exercise regimen in addition to her regular diet, and she thinks she's dying because she is so exhausted. But it's good for her, and hopefully that weight will come back off and she can get back down to a healthy weight for her, because she struggles at this weight and that's no good. You know, it's different if it's just her natural body weight. It's different if that is because of a disease or something like if she had really bad knees and she couldn't work out, that would be different. Then I wouldn't be pushing her to do this. But she's a youngish, middle-aged dog, and we don't want to shorten her life accidentally either. So it's always kind of a fine edge line. The key being that we're working with her vet, just like people would work with their doctor if that was them and they needed to do that. And it's not anybody's place to come say, your dog's fat, take your dog for a walk. Just like it's not anybody's place to say, you're fat, go out, work out. You don't know. Normally I do knit night with Soxy Nana and the Tangled Cat, and sometimes Emma's there, and Christina Notary, and it's just a little group of us. I would say it's like max like 5 to 6, 7 people who rotate in and out. And knit night is like once a week, and it's hosted by Soxy Nana. And once a month. It's hosted by Soxy Nana. I like that it's only once a month because I get so exhausted. Like I feel overly pressured if something is more often than that. And I like that I can step out if I need to. But I was really excited to do it this time. It got bumped back for something family, and I was excited because it was going to land on a Saturday, which worked even better for me. And then I found out that my family member who was a plumber was going to come over and do all our plumbing work that we needed, like right smack dab in the middle of when knit night was. So on the one hand, I missed knit night, which really sucked. And on the other hand, all of our plumbing stuff that we wanted to get done and we started getting done when we had our tax return and we bought all the things for it is now done. I have replaced both toilets. They are installed and done. We've replaced like a extend-a-hose part of our faucet, not the part off to the side, because ours was like the actual faucet came out. It was one of those Moen ones. The hose got a leak, so we replaced the hose in that. So like nothing is leaking in our house, nothing is running. Like the toilets would like not flush right and then they would run and you would have to go jiggle the thing. All the guts are fixed. Everything works in my house for right now. You know, there's a glory in buying new construction that everything's shiny and new, and then there's a dark side to buying new construction, which is that 8 to 10 years after you buy it, everything starts breaking, and it all starts breaking at once because it was all installed at once. So your fridge and your washer and your dryer, like everything starts breaking at once. We're a little lucky because we didn't buy a new washer and dryer when we moved in. We brought our like 30-year-old Maytag and Whirlpool, and those suckers are never gonna die. I've replaced the belt in it myself. And but yeah, I'm waiting for the day when my dishwasher kicks the bucket because it's the only like newer appliance that we have that hasn't yet. Like our fridge sprung a leak, and I guess we haven't had a furnace problem or a hot water heater problem, but we have had to do like standard maintenance on those things besides like just changing the filters and stuff. Like we had to have, the plumber had to come do the descaling and whatnot on our tankless hot water heater, and I am so lucky, you guys, that I have a plumber in a family because I don't want to think about what that would cost. So just know, like if you're out there house shopping and you think, like my husband thought, I don't want to buy an older house because I don't want to pay for a new roof and I don't want to have to deal with like, what if I have to replace the carpet because there's mold under there or something like that. Yeah, so you don't have to deal with those problems that already exist, but just wait 10 years and your house will have problems too. Like, there's no avoiding it. It's part of being a homeowner. Oh my goodness. Other things that I've done, I mean, it was excitement, not necessarily in a good way, was that this itty bitty teeny weeny dog went running by my house, and we kind of know most of the dogs in the neighborhood. And I was like, I don't know that dog. Does that dog have like a person with it? And I didn't see a person, but the dog was already gone. And I mean, this dog was like 4 pounds max, smaller than a cat. And so I don't know if it went under a car, like a parked car or what, but it was gone. And I was like, that was weird. That's gotta be somebody's house dog. So then I'm sitting back in my chair and I look out and this dog has come in through my gate. It's so small, it can fit between the bars of my gate that my Bostons can't fit out. It's come in and it's like, you know, going to the bathroom and sniffing my grass and saying hi to my Bostons. And I'm like, okay, that dog, it belongs to somebody. Let me go get it and we'll call them. So I go out, dog comes right to me and I pick it up and my dogs are so wound and excited because they don't have doggy friends. Like, it's been 2.5 years since we've been to the dog park, right? So they're like, oh, somebody to play with. And I'm like, please don't bounce on the dog. This is a small dog. You will crush it, even though you guys only weigh 20 pounds. And so I'm like, get the collar off, and we're looking at the collar. The collar doesn't have a tag. It had a collar and it had a cute little charm on it, but no tag, like no rabies tag, no, this is who I am, please call my parents, phone number, address, nothing like that. No, I'm chipped. And I'm like, oh crap, okay. So I can't walk like very far at all. Like from my house to my car is about it. Otherwise I would have to get on my scooter. So I'm trying to carry this dog down to and I'm like huffing and puffing and like ready to fall over. My husband's like, okay, give me the dog and go get in the car. So I got in the car and he walked down the street knocking on doors, and like nobody's answering because nobody's home from work yet, which struck me as odd because my husband was home from work and he does get out earlier because he's a teacher, but then he also has an hour commute. So like this was at 5, and we knock and we knock and we knock. We go through all this, and we ran into a couple people. They didn't know who it was. We get quite a ways, like 2 blocks away maybe, and somebody is like, I think it lives like another block that way. So we go another block that way. We knock on the house that they thought it was. There's nobody home. We asked the people across the street. They're like, I actually think it's a few more houses down even. So we go down, and it was, and we finally found the dog's home. It was clearly the dog's actual home. They had other dogs that were of the same breed and size, and they were like really ecstatic. They were like, oh, we just went for a walk looking for her. And I was like, yeah, we're like, 3.5 blocks that way. And she's like, oh my gosh, we didn't go that far because usually the dog doesn't make it that far. And I write this to say, or I say this to say, like, even if your dog is really tiny and you think it's never gonna leave the house, put a tag on it with a phone number. Because we got in our car and we drove and knocked on like everybody's house to see whose dog this was. And if we hadn't found somebody, we would have taken it to the vet to see if it was chipped. And if it wasn't, we would have kept it at our house in one of our crates, because my dogs would just, Granny thought it was great and it got along with Granny fine, but Lugs likes to play with the bull mastiffs. She's a bossy dog. She would knock that little dog over. So I would have to keep it like in a spare room in a crate. And I would do that and I would post it online and hope that somebody came. But like, people, tag your pets and make sure that they're like chipped, and like, because there's a lot of people out there who wouldn't go to all that effort. I can tell you that. Having gotten my dogs from rescues, I can tell you there's a lot of people out there who do not treat animals with that much respect. Okay, that's like my whole big shiny 2 weeks. I don't think anything else happened. I had a doctor's appointment. I don't have any doctor's appointments for like, well, it's been a week now, so like 3 weeks, and I'm so excited, you guys. I can't remember the last time I've gone a whole month without going to the doctor. I'm so thrilled. I needed a break. Doctor fatigue is real if you have chronic illness and you're just like completely fucking sick of going to the doctor. I feel you. It's real. Okay, so on to the admin. So a couple of things for admin. As always, we have our discount code from Katie for Naughty Knitting Sacks, which you always see highly featured, not because I'm sponsored, but because I just really like her whole aesthetic, and because she makes really good bags. So that is Bean15 for 15% off. Please go give Katie some love. And the other thing is that by the time this video is posted, we will be starting the Inclusion Cal. I have put up some threads in the Ravelry group for the Knitted Bean podcast. There's one where you can like introduce yourself if you want to. But then I also put up a bunch of threads that have like bundles linked for the group. of like BIPOC designers or queer designers, and then I have a couple comments where I have linked to the external pages for a bunch of BIPOC dyers and queer dyers. I also want to add, and I may have it added by the time this drops, I don't know, a bundle of size inclusive patterns, and feel free, if you can, try and add to those bundles. I have never made a bundle for a group on Ravelry, and it only gave me two options, blank or list for who could add to it, and I don't know which to choose. Somebody, if you know, drop a comment below and tell me, like, how do I make it so that anybody in the Ravelry group can add to those, because I'd like it to be that way. If you can't add to them, it's fine. Just in those threads, just feel free to like drop links or make comments or whatever. Just like share the information basically for people who want to get started and they're like, I want to get started, but I don't know where to start. Because somebody, it was Benta, asked me, oh, I'd love to participate. Can you recommend any good queer designers? And I was instantly like, blank brain. And I was like, I can, but I'll have to get back to you on that because I can't think of a single one of them, which is ridiculous because I know a ton of queer designers. And I was just like, I just can't think of them right now. What the heck? And so it just is like a little resource, a little grab pull, a little starting point where you can like start to look at things and be like, oh yeah, okay, so yes, let's start here. And you know, like I've said a couple of times, literally anything can go if you can tell me how it's inclusive. If you bought your fiber at a queer-owned or BIPOC-owned or neurodivergent-owned small business and you tell me, it'll count. If you are knitting a pattern that is size inclusive, it'll count. If you are knitting with a yarn that donates to the Trevor Project, it'll count. If you are knitting in, you know, the Bi Pride colors, if you are knitting something in the shape of a puzzle piece for autism awareness, it'll count. Just tell me how. It's not about finishing, it's not about competition, it's not about anything like that. It's just about everybody coming together and knitting together and talking and enjoying on both Ravelry and Instagram, because I have people who don't have Instagram who need it on Ravelry, and I know people who can't use Ravelry who need it on Instagram, and I want to be able to include everybody. And it's not about rules, really. It's about bringing everybody together. So whips are allowed. You can double, triple, quadruple dip. I don't care. You can enter more than once if you make a pair of socks and then you turn around and make a sweater, because it's going to go for 2.5, almost 3 months. Wonderful. Doesn't matter. So on Instagram, the hashtag is going to be hashtag InclusionMAL2022. And yes, it is a mal. So you can sew something, you can paint something, you can knit something, you can crochet something. Do keep in mind that the projects that I've had donated are fiber related. So that's, if you happen to win, that's what you're going to get. But it's totally open to anything. I am down for it all. I'd love to see what you're up to. Are you making a rainbow project bag? I'd love it. Are you making a puzzle piece project bag? I love it. You know, are you making a project bag with big girls on it? I really love it, you guys. Come on. Anything else? Okay, so my plan is to draw prizes, because yes, we're doing prizes, but that's not really what it's about, but we're doing them. My plan is to draw 2 prizes from Instagram, one from WIPs, one from FOs, and 2 prizes from Ravelry, one from a chatter thread and one from a FO thread. So I guess that means that even on Instagram, so you'll do hashtag InclusionMAL2022 for all your WIP pictures and hashtag InclusionMAL2022 FO for your final object so that I can separate those. That will be helpful. Other than that, it's going to be open worldwide. It might take me a little bit to sort out shipping on that, depending on where you are. Just be patient with me getting customs forms and all that together into the post office, because sometimes it takes me a little bit, not because it's hard, just because going to the post office can wipe me out for a couple of days. So we do have some prize donors already lined up for 3 out of 4 of those prizes. If you're a maker and you're interested in donating stuff for that 4th prize pack, please just send me a DM on Instagram or wherever. I would totally be interested in talking to you about that. But what I've got so far is 3 out of the 4. I'm planning to put a project bag with a yarn prize. And then I am trying to source some stitch markers. And that's going to be, each person should get one kind of set of that. What you get will be, depends on what the person sends. So what I have right now is we have the project bags from 3 Yarn Mice. These are the very last of the project bags that she sent me for giveaways. So we're going to use them all up. We have this super cute hedgehog with a zipper. This is like a flannel. This was definitely my favorite one of all the ones that she sent. It has an awesome orange inside, no pockets. It's kind of like a extra large sock or shawl size, excuse me, shawl size. And then I have 2 of her big drawstrings that have 5 or 6 pockets inside each. I have a cherry one with beige lining, and I don't want to like zoop them because I want to let you be the person who zoops them for the first time. And then I have lemons, you guys. My fanficky people will love the lemons. And with a black inside and like an olive green canvas bottom. This also has a canvas bottom. It's a beige. And then for yarns, I have Undercover Otter is going to be a prize sponsor again this year. They were last year. They specialize in like wild bright colors, and I mean they do also have like some muted pastels or tonals. So like I have a couple examples of what they have. They have things that are, and I mean like wild and bright, or they have things that are like pastel gray blue, pastel pink, things like that. Our second sponsor is Benta from Arctic Crafts. She has kindly sent me a picture so that I can show you what it will be because it hasn't been dyed up yet. It gets dyed up for Pride Month. She is going to send the Queer Pride mini skein set, so that will go with one of the bags. These are super duper freaking cute, you guys. I love them. I can think of so many things that you could do with these, from making like rainbow socks to doing like the yoke of a sweater, or what's that one with the side rainbow on it? I don't know who it's by. I have a person's name in the top of my head and that's probably not it, so I'm not gonna say it. I'll pop a picture up here. Anyway, donor number 3 for yarn is going to be Geektastic Fibers. This is another dyer who I love for how inclusive and supportive and all about it they are. So Amanda dyes self-striping yarns based on fanfic, and fanfic ships, which if you're not in the fanfic world means couples basically. And she's got colorways based on pairings of all sorts. There's no exclusion going on there. So I reached out to her and she gladly said that she would donate a skein. I don't have it yet. I don't know what color it's gonna be. We'll see what she donates, but you will get a fandom themed yarn. And I'm super excited about that. So those are my 3 yarn donors at the moment, and my bag donor is 3 yarn mice, like I said. I'm gonna put these together in bag and yarn packages, and then hopefully I will be able to locate the stitch markers that I would like. We'll see what I can do. And those will be what is up for when. Hi, Granny. I feel like I'm gonna have to edit that a lot because it's really awkward to talk about giving, like, getting prizes to give out. That's like the most awkward thing you do in a podcast. I am super grateful to all of the makers who have donated to me, and I am super excited to be able to grab some random winners and send those out way at the end of July. In the meantime, let's get knitting, you guys. I want to see your pictures. I want to know what you're doing. Tell me about it. Talk to me. Leave me comments. Post me on Ravelry. I will try really hard to be extra active on Ravelry. I know I'm not super active on there. Tag me on Instagram. I want to hear about it. Okay, I think that's it for administrative hullabaloo. Okay. Yep. That's it. That's it for administrative hullabaloo. Let's move into the knitting. Speaking of Geektastic Fibers, my very first FO is Geektastic Fibers. Ah, I guess I took these off the sock blockers. I didn't realize that. And I don't know where my sock blockers are now. Sorry, you get them this way. So these are the shiny socks that I made. These are going to my husband, and he'll be super excited to wear them now. Try and get them in the good light here. They're so soft and they smell good. So I originally made these into sock tubes with just a toe and a cuff and no heel, and then I procrastinated forever and ever and ever about putting in the afterthought heel. Not because I don't know how to do an afterthought heel, you guys. I don't know. I just really was lazy and didn't feel like it. At first it was because I hadn't decided if they were going to be for me or if they were going to be a gift pair of socks. I was kind of thinking they would be a gift pair, and then I was like, okay, well, they'll be a gift pair and they'll be for my husband. But then I was like, I don't want to do the afterthought heel. Like, I just feel lazy. But in the end, I got it done. I picked up the stitches, and I wish I could remember where I heard this trick. I want to say it might have been on the Corner of Craft, but I did the thing where, and I don't know if you can tell really because the yarn's so dark, but I knit like 5 rounds, and then I started my afterthought heel because he's got like a really flat foot with a high instep, and so I was really worried that the afterthought heel wouldn't work well for him. And that actually worked really well. He has tried these on. They fit like a charm, and then I immediately stole them back and told him he could not have them until I was done podcasting. So he can have these now, and he will be super excited. That is the shiny colorway by Geektastic Fibers. Unfortunately, I was on their website the other day, and it is sold out. Which sucks, because I really like that colorway. It's like such a good fall colorway, and I really like Firefly. It is on her superhero sock base, which is just a standard 75-25. And it's a 72 stitch sock on a size 0, which is mostly my standard for larger feet. So like bigger ankles, men's feet, etc. If I'm looking at somebody who has smaller ankles, I'll do a 68, 66, or 64 on a 0. But I just really like I get a really dense fabric when I do this 72 stitch, and it's not like it doesn't have drape. So my gauge on a 0 with regular like 75-25 or even like 80-20 sock yarn comes out to be somewhere between 9 and 9.5, 10 stitches, usually 9.5 stitches per inch on a 0, and I love it, and I'm not changing it, guys. So for all you people who are out there still like trying to figure out how to knit socks and like what size needle do I use, yes, the patterns recommend sizes, but at a certain point you will know your gauge. I know my gauge well enough that I can say, oh, that's a color work pattern, I should go up in needle size. We'll be addressing that later, so on and so forth. But then you can say like, I need it to be this big around based on my gauge. I need to choose this size. Did you hear that? The neighbors are bringing in their garbage can, and Legs was just like, pew. So that's my little sock speech. My tea has hit like the perfect drinking temperature, you guys. Alright, my only other FO, and I did not have that much left to do, you guys. I got this done in like one sitting of an evening, but it's super cute. And I haven't clipped the ends, but I did tuck them all in. And I haven't clipped the ends because I haven't blocked it, and I haven't blocked it because I'll explain. But I have the Monday suit by Petite Knit. So this is a baby onesie, obviously. This is knit out of Sweet Georgia Caramel Apple. No, Apple Pie. It's a button flap. These buttons, which I didn't mention before, are just stash buttons from my button stash, which was and has been acquired from various button jars at various yard sales over the years. I think since I was about 18, I've bought 2 or 3 button jars at yard sales, and I'm good. I lack a lot of like fancy colored buttons, but I'll pick those up like here and there and in stores, but fairly basic neutral, I was trying to think of the right word, neutral buttons or neutral colored buttons to go on garments, I am like solid. I really loved making this, you guys, and I want to make another one. Even though I don't have any babies coming into my life, I might just grab one of my yarns and make them another one. This is for a sister of a friend, and I did run out of yarn. I played yarn chicken and I ran out of yarn on this arm. So you can probably see it's a little more striped, but not a whole lot more striped on this arm because they did not have the same colorway, you guys. Like, not colorway, the same dye lot, and it was significantly darker. So I did have a chunk, and I alternated it 1 for 1 and faded it in. And then at the very end, I had to finish it off just in that color. So this, this base I've talked about before is a sock yarn, and it's almost a sport. It's like 390 yards per. And I don't know what the makeup is. I feel like it's an 80-20 or an 85-15, something like that. I really loved it. I would so make another one of these. So why haven't I blocked it and why haven't I woven in the ends? So when I block things, I always block them and then trim the ends. So my ends are woven in, they're just not trimmed. I weave my ends in as I go on, I would say 98% of my projects. But I haven't trimmed them because when you block things, they stretch and that zhuzhes the yarn into place, as Andrea Mowry would say. I think she's the one that says zhuzh. Anyway, I like to let it zhuzh first and then clip so that I'm not clipping and then zhuzhing and then having a little thing go ping out. The reason that I haven't blocked it is because we are going to turn this into a little Halloween costume. Baby is due in October and Mom is a big, huge horror, like slasher, scary film aficionado, like the ones that are like almost campy. And so she, I guess, loves the movie Trick or Treat, which I've never seen, but it has a little toddler who is wearing a dirty yellow onesie with patches and footies and has like a little pumpkin head burlap mask. So I am going to darn this, even though there's no hole. I'm going to do some visible mending here and here to put on some solid yellow patches so that it matches that and it looks like the Sam suit from the movie. And I'm going to make some socks out of the yarn that I have left over to match. I didn't want to make footy because then, like, if the baby's legs are not, you know, like, I didn't want to, like, oh, sorry, your kid's too tall for that. So I want to do the visible mending before I block it, long story short. Then, after Halloween, if she wants to clip those patches off and give it a wash, she has a perfectly suitable baby suit. It's been quite the project and it's been really fun to, like, put my brain in order because there's some other things that go along with that Halloween costume, like little fingerless mitts that are tan that I'm gonna make. And obviously we are not making a mask for the baby. And I thought about a snood, but, or balaclava, but man, I just can't imagine putting that on a baby. So I'm gonna make like a ribbed beanie and put the little pumpkin head on it. So you will see the rest of the Halloween costume as it grows. Those are my only 2 FOs, you guys. I did a lot of knitting, but not on anything that I finished. I mean, 2 heels and a baby sleeve. There you go. That's what I accomplished. But I got other things done. Okay. So moving on to whips. I'm not even going to show you my self-designed tank top because, as I said before, the imposter syndrome is clearly real. I have cast on the other t-shirt that I was talking about that I was like, oh, I'll knit on it in between, like when I get frustrated with self-designing, I'll knit on it. Yeah, no, that is what I have been knitting on. I have not even finished casting it on. You know, I had cast it on and decided I needed more stitches. I ripped it out and I went to cast it on again. I need about 380 to 400 stitches depending on how much ease I want. And I think I have like 200 stitches cast on and it's just sitting in a bag because I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Stupid, you guys. I can totally do it. But I'm stalling. Okay. In my Fat Squirrel Fibers Fat Ladies and Mushrooms bag with my sock squad pin on it, I have a chart, which I'm not going to flash to you because it's a paid pattern. I have some leftover, my lighting is a little bit wonk, because it got cloudy outside. There we go. Leftover Farmer's Daughters sock squad. And then, let's see if I can get it out without making a hot mess. Oh, look at that talent. I have 2 balls of Yowl in lavender and French mustard. Let's see if it'll show up well or not. So these are the Be Creative socks, and it's kind of a choose your own adventure of a sock pattern. You have the bees, you have the flowers, and you get to choose like where you want the bees and what direction you want them to go. It is an all over colorwork sock. I'm knitting it on a 0. I'm still not sure if I'm gonna regret that. So usually, as I said, I know my gauge, and I'm going to go up 1 for color work, right? I usually knit that on a 1. Their gauge was similar to my gauge at 9.5 stitches per inch. So they have you cast on a ton of stitches, like a ton, like more than I've ever put on a sock. And it's not adjustable. You only get that one size. And so I'm like, well, it says it's for like a average size ankle, like 8.5. And their gauge is the same as mine. And there's, I don't remember how many stitches on here, above 72 though. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just knit it on a 0 like I normally would and get my 9.5 stitches per inch, and we'll see how it works out, because I'm not making these for me. I'm making these for my writing partner, who I normally make a 64 or a 66 or at max a 68 inch sock if it's color work. So I mean, it's pretty stretchy despite being all over color work because it's got so many stitches, even though I'm knitting it on a 0. I do absolutely freaking love like the way the fabric looks on a 0 is just, oh my goodness, you guys. It's so hard to like show you, but let's see if I can get you a close up. And obviously it's not blocked yet, but I mean, I do love like the way that it looks at this gauge is stunning. But I haven't decided if I'm gonna regret that not going up to a 1 or not. I'm like, how small are your ankles? I actually do think it'll be okay though. It's gonna be a heel flap and gusset, which I don't do. I am not a fan of heel flap and gusset. Mostly because I'm not a fan of picking up stitches. If I did heel flap and gusset toe up, I probably wouldn't mind it at all. And I do prefer toe up socks. The problem is all the heel flap and gusset patterns tend to be cuffed down. So we'll see. I think that it'll be fine because with the heel flap and gusset and like adding those stitches for the gusset, like I think it'll be just peachy. So these are the Be Creative socks by Ducathy. They also, I saw recently, put out Be Creative mitts, fingerless mitts, and I am so tempted to also make them a pair of those because fingerless mitts are a thing that is on the list. But yeah, do keep in mind that it's a one size pattern. Like, it does give you different lengths even though it's in color work. So sometimes you don't get different lengths in color work. It just tells you to make the toe longer or shorter. This does. It actually gives you different color work charts that are spaced or done differently. I don't know. I haven't read that far ahead. for different foot lengths, but it does not give you different ankle widths. So you would have to size with your needle size for that. All right, my last work in progress is living in my naughty knitting sack. This is my gamer bag with gaming stuff or electronic stuff and game mermaids on the inside. This is my rocket tee. This is supposed to be my rest project, my like, okay, chill because you're tired of doing your self-design project. Clearly that has not worked. You guys, I am just having too much fun with it. And also I'm really putting off working on my other one. So it's on a small needle because I like to knit on a small cable. Because I like to knit on a short cable because it's faster. And let's be honest, I wasn't going to switch it over to my 50-inch cable just to show it off on here. But I'm trying to like hold on to my ball of mohair at the same time. It's not really working. There we go. So this is like my lighting. Always complain about the lighting or you're not a real podcaster. This is like a periwinkle mohair with a light indigo cotton linen nettle blend. This mohair, you guys, I don't know if you are gonna be able to see this, but oh yeah. It's so freaking hairy. Look at that. What's interesting though is that for as hairy as it is, it does not shed. And I've never had a mohair that just doesn't shed. It's not a silk mohair, it's a wool mohair. There's no silk in it. And the wool must like grip the mohair better. And my French is terrible, so I'm not even gonna try and pronounce it. And it's the Lyra base in the color, what I think is probably Nuagas. So yeah, it's 22% wool and 69% mohair. And then it's got some viscose and some polymetal, so it's a little sparkly, which of course I'm sure you can't see on camera because sparkle never, ever, oh, a little bit shows up on camera. But yeah, I am not usually a huge mohair fan. I typically prefer alpaca because it makes me itch, and like I'll put it in a hat, but wouldn't typically put it in a shirt. But this was on super sale and I thought, you know what, if it doesn't work, I'll just take it out or I'll make another one or whatever, right? I have my little Yarnistry D&D stitch marker that I got in my Advent last year. So, a couple of things on this. It's a super size inclusive pattern, which I love. It's not just size inclusive like, oh, we go up to a, 56-inch bust. But the recommended ease on this, I think, is 6 inches. It is size inclusive such that you could have like a 62-inch bust and still knit it with 6 inches of ease, which I love. Like, don't fake me out, basically. Don't say it's size inclusive with 6 inches of ease and then 53 inches is the top. That's just rude. But it's got these little eyelets around the raglan, which I like. there's the option to carry those down the side, which I've done. I really debated hard on that because, let's be honest, we're, you know, some of us are still body conscious even if we're chill with our size. I was like, I don't know if I want my fat real visible on the sides. And then I was like, well, I mean, it's kind of see-through anyway. So they're kind of going to see my fat roll anyway. And I really feel like the eyelets will help with the air circulation. So I put those on. I am holding the mohair single. It's still pretty occlusive. I did get to learn an I-cord, an attached I-cord as you go bind off for this, which those were pretty cool. I do dread having to do it around the bottom, and I see why people hate doing them on 1000 stitch Stephen West shawls because they are time consuming, which is why I've done it on both arms already, just to like save myself some finishing. I'm going to hope that I have enough of the linen to do it around the neck and the hem in linen, even though I did the arms in 2 strands of mohair, because I think that if I did the mohair around my neck, that might be itchy. So that's a lot of mohair. And then I want it to match top and bottom. So I'm about 50% done with this. I knit this with 3 inches of ease in mind. To me, 6 inches is just gonna be too much for me. My Rocket tee has 3 inches and that seems really loose on me and I like it. And I thought, I don't know that I want something that has even more ease than that. And then I was talking to Kristen of Witcher Needles, and she was talking about when Maddie made hers and how Maddie thought it, you know, the mohair stretched a lot and she just felt like it was just huge. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad that I chose the 3 inches of ease then, because even if it stretches, I feel like I'm not going to end up wearing a garbage bag. So I'm really happy with my choice there. I'm hoping that it ends up fitting the way I want and not too big. I was talking to a couple other people and they also were like, yeah, I made it, but I just felt like it was really big. And I think that there are people for whom that 6 inches of ease probably really works well. But people have different shapes, right? Like I'm really chesty. And so if you go off my chest measurement, which sticks out further than my stomach, and then you add 6 inches onto my chest, when you get down to my stomach, that's now like 10 inches from my stomach, right? So, hi legs, did you get yourself all hot and bothered? The door's open so she can like go outside. I think she went and suntanned herself. Versus people who maybe aren't as chesty. If they do 6 inches of ease from their chest, then from their stomach, that might only be 7 inches of ease. So, I mean, you really have to take recommended ease with a grain of salt and pay attention to your own body and the way that you like your own clothes to fit, because your body may not be the same as the designer's body or the body that the designer designed it for. It doesn't mean that you can't make the garment work for you. And it's super disappointing to spend all that time working on a garment and then have it not look or fit at all the way that you want it. So I have slipped that on. It goes over me fine. It fits at what I would say is like a 1 inch-ish ease right now. But the linen's gonna stretch, the mohair's gonna stretch. So I think it's gonna be dead on. Oh, you guys, I was really bad. I didn't swatch for that. I was just so gung-ho to try out that Pasquale linen nettle cotton blend that I just like dove right in. And then I got to like the second stripe and I was like, oh, I didn't swatch. But I checked my gauge and it's fine. I'm fine. I am on gauge. And then I might be just slightly over gauge when it stretches, which is fine, again, because I'm knitting with less ease than recommended. The other really insane thing about that shirt is with the mohair and that linen cotton blend, it weighs almost nothing. So each of the mohair balls that I have is 25 grams. And I'm just now starting into the second ball. And each of the cotton linen knittle blend that I have weighs 50 grams. And I'm just now starting into the second ball. So that whole shirt that I'm half done with right now weighs less than 100 grams. Or just, yeah, no, less than 100 grams, because that would be 75. And I'm definitely not that far into balls 2 and 3. I have 3 of each, so I can make it a little bit longer if I want. So we'll see. I don't think I will need to, though. I might actually have a little bit left over. I don't know. It's hard to judge because you use less at the top. So that's all I have for things that I have been knitting on. I need to work on my self-draft top, you guys. It's gorgeous yarn and I love it and I want to work with it. I'm scared that I'm going to screw it up, which is so silly. So silly. So silly. One more thing before I carry on. If you wouldn't mind giving the video a like, dropping a comment down below, tell me what you're working on or what you wish you were working on, and hit the subscribe button if you want to know the next time I put out a video so that you're not missing them. All those things just truly help get the podcast out in the universe, and getting the podcast out in the universe helps bring more people into the make-along, and I would like for everybody to be in the make-along. That is the point of the make-along. So, what else? Okay, so I have one acquisition, which I am thrilled about, and some really fun reading. So my acquisition is from Chromatic Yarns, which is Hannah at the Corner of Craft. I'm so excited. This is the yarn that I got as an Easter gift. This is Naiad on Sturdy Sock, which is the BFL, and it's a 75-25 nylon. And I'm in love, you guys. I know what I'm doing right after I finish recording this. I really had to restrain myself not to cake this up and start a pair of socks before the podcast because I got it like 3 days ago. I promised myself that I would make myself socks for me out of both of these before I did anything else with the scraps or the leftovers or whatever. And I thought I might have a hard time with that because I'm really bad about making myself socks. I'm not gonna have a hard time. Not at all. I even have an idea of the pattern that I'm gonna make. I got a little packet of, they're called the Wild Garden socks, and they're just these super simple textured socks. And you know, that's the kind of sock that I will wear. I love to knit these crazy, super complicated color work or like pattern socks, lace socks. I don't wear those though. Like both of the all over color work socks, one I thought was going to be for me and I ended up giving it away, and the other one is for somebody else, like from the start to the beginning. I've only ever knit one pair of color work socks with a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom for myself. I've only ever knit one pair of lace socks for myself. The socks that I keep for me are either vanilla, or they're like vanilla shorties, or they're like simple textures. So these socks, I saw this and I was like, oh, this is right up my alley. Everything in this like little 3-pack of socks is made with knits and twisted stitches. I love simple textures, so I'm like, you know, I can totally make a pair of those for myself. Probably shorties because I like shorties. So I'm super excited, and I'm totally gonna like wind this right up. The other one that I got, because I had never had it and I really want to try it because I really like 80-20 and 85-15 bases, was Wraith. And you guys know these are totally my colors. Look at that green on gray. And like, check out that neon yellow green. So this is a 8515 merino sock base. So this is her merino sock. And yeah, my husband was like, so I got this and I was like, oh, so the question is, do I make socks with this or do I stripe it with something else and make myself a tank top? And he was like, cause it looks kind of like tie-dye almost. And he's like, make yourself socks. You never make yourself socks. And you're like, you always make yourself garments. And I was like, okay. And he's like, besides, if you were gonna make a garment, you'd make it out of this. And I was like, yeah, true. I still think I'm gonna make socks out of this. I said, because I have, from Undercover Otter, something very similar. The difference being is that it's neon green and gray on white instead of green and neon yellow on gray. And I said, and this is set aside for someday striping into a tank. So yeah, it is really squishy, and I totally like, I love both bases. That's the thing. I have a lot of this base because I got her advent calendar last year, and it's soft. Like, guys, it's BFL, but it's soft. I made it into that Joji Locatelli shawl and with brioche, and it's so soft. And the difference to me is that it's a little bit thinner. The actual yarn is a little bit thinner, so it would make thinner socks. And it's probably gonna pill less. Whereas the super squishy 8525, I would totally make a sweater out of this, hell yeah. But this to me is like winter socks, right? Like, it's a little bit thicker, it's a little bit, I mean, they're just both, I'm in love. So I'm gonna wind that up. Maybe I'll record it so you guys can see. And this can go in the pile of many sock yarns. Okay, that's my acquisition. It's the only acquisition I got. Although I am going to stay up until 2 o'clock tonight and try really hard to be one of the people who snags one of Hannah's advents, because my husband has agreed that that is something that we can afford if we do the payment option. Hannah does a payment option where you can pay a part initially and then do 2 invoices over the summer and then get your advent. And I have seen a few, very few other dyers do half and half, and I understand why they do it because they have to buy all the supplies. But the 3-part payment option, it just works so good at making it accessible for people who do not have like $300 sitting around for an advent. Not to mention, I really like Hannah's yarn, and I've used about half of the minis for my advent. I was actually thinking about that and then Rocket Tea the other day, and I think I would love to get like some gray alpaca siri, and I would only need 2 skeins because, you know, the alpaca series tends to have in 50 grams more yardage than a regular yarn, although less than a mohair. I only need like, I think it's like 540-ish yards to make of each color to make one. So I would need like 2 skeins of a gray alpaca siri and then stripe it with. There are a few of the minis, the BFL minis, that I have kept aside because, hang on, I'll just show you. Okay, so this is 6 of the last year's that I've saved because I just thought that they would make a really cute stripe fade. That's so hard to see. this way. Let's do 3 and 3. I just thought they would make a really cute striped fade with, oh, I don't know, or like a turquoise, like a turquoise, bright turquoise, like almost like this color, only brighter. Anyway, I think it could be a lot of fun to do that, and that would be more of a, oh, hi Lex, more of a transitions / winter rocket tee. So yeah. Hi. You guys want to say hi to Legs? Say hi. Go look in the camera. Okay. Alright, so last thing is reading / fan fiction / media / whatever the hell I want it to be. And this week it's reading, which I wanted to actually be reading and fan fiction, but I did not have time to or energy to go find fan fiction for it. So I'm going to try and find fan fiction for this for next podcast. I don't know how many of you are like super into like gothic horror literature, like the originals, like the OG gothic novels, but I super am. And I don't mean like new novels that are written in a gothic way. I mean, sometimes I like those, but I just, ever since, I don't know, maybe even middle school, I have really liked the original gothic writing. So I'm talking about like Frankenstein and Turn of the Screw, and I'm trying not to say the exact one that I'm talking about, and that's all I can think about. Not a Portrait of Dorian Gray. But yeah, things like that. And like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I've always like thought like those were really interesting books. And I have a habit of, if I have to take a long plane flight, I a lot of times will download those because they are free, because they are like in the public domain now. And so you can download them as ebooks for free, and I will like read them on the plane. So I've read them multiple times. And my writing partner, who happens to be a librarian, was like, hey, I know that you love Dracula. Have you seen Dracula Daily? And I was like, no, what is this? Okay, so Dracula as a novel is written in the, and I never say this word right, epistolary format, which means that the entire novel is actually composed of separate letters and diary entries that have all been put in order and compiled for you to read from the character's point of view. Okay, so you have letters from John Harker, and then you have letters from Mina, and so on and so forth. And you have like telegrams and diary entries and such. And so every one of those has a date on it, like an exact date, like May 3rd. Well, guess what? It was May 3rd. Dracula Daily is a place where you can sign up, and they will email fresh to your inbox Dracula in real time. So on May 3rd, you will get the letter that John Harker wrote to in his diary on May 3rd. And on May 4th, you will get to your inbox the letter that John Harker wrote on that day. It's so much fun. It's a great way to like go through Dracula in like bite-sized formats in the original, or in bite-sized pieces in the original format. And the titles to the emails are so cheeky. I love them. The very first one is meet John Harker and collect some recipes. Because when you first read the first letter, or I guess it's a diary entry in this case, in the book, he is talking about his travels and the food that he eats and how he wants to get the recipe for Mina. So it makes me fall in love with John Harker as a character all over again. He's like just this young 20-year-old kid who's just, I mean, he's not a kid, he's an adult at that time. Like, that was considered the blush of adulthood, you know, but like, he's just this young adult just going out and doing these things and venturing into these new countries, and he feels so adult, and yet he also espouses like these super I'm trying to think of the right word. Conceited is not the right word. These super uneducated opinions about those other countries, because he hasn't actually been out in the world, but he thinks, I am a worldly man, I am traveling to Wallachia, I am, you know, so on and so forth, right? And in reality, he's like so unworldly and like, oh my god, this is the first time I've had paprika. So it's really fun. I will drop a link below for you if you would like to join in on Dracula Daily. There's also a Pillow Fort group that has been made up for people who want to talk about Dracula Daily and the letter that you get every day. I also think it's a really lovely way if you want to get into reading, but you're like, I don't have time to read. You have time to read an email, right? It's easy. Okay, you guys, that is all I've got. I really think you should sign up for Dracula Daily, and I hope that you will subscribe to this channel. I hope that you will join us in the make-along and supporting how unique we all are as people, and yet how we all like to craft together. So I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, depending on your time zone, and please stay safe out there in the world because it's a bit crazy.